In a typical viewing session on YouTube, it's increasingly common to encounter VPN advertisements.
Armor, I accidentally took all of it off. Hello. Not to interrupt the flow of the video or anything, but this video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN.
Among these, brands like NordVPN, ExpressVPN, privateinternetaccess, and Surfshark are frequently featured. VPNs, along with whale-oriented mobile games and online learning communities, have become prominent sponsors on the platform. While the proliferation of mobile game and online learning community sponsorships can be easily understood, the prevalence of VPNs in advertising circles is a more complex and nuanced phenomenon. Here is the TLDR of the video. The reason there are so many cheap VPN service providers is that it is easy to develop and set up, cheap to maintain, insanely profitable, and easy to scale. This video focuses on the surge of VPN providers, sidestepping the technical nitty-gritty and often dubious claims of VPNs, topics that fit a video of its own. But for the sake of simplicity, I will give a brief on what VPN is. In a very simplified way, in most cases your internet activity is routed using your internet service provider. What a VPN, or virtual private network, does in practice is rerouting your internet traffic through a different server. VPNs were designed to virtually integrate your computer into a separate private network, eliminating the need for a physical connection or separation. This feature is highly beneficial in a business environment, though it may be less useful for the average consumer. For the average consumer, there are primarily three reasons to use VPN. Global service access. In today's interconnected world, we heavily rely on globally available services. However, these services aren't universally accessible. In some cases, services such as Spotify are not available in all countries. Additionally, Netflix's extensive content library is often region-locked due to licensing constraints. Similar occurrence happens with Steam, where Steam blocks games in certain regions. This means that subscribers from different countries may have different content options, leading to frustration and to the feeling that the service does not worth the money. To overcome these limitations, people often turn to VPNs to reroute the internet traffic through servers in other countries, masking the true location and bypassing geo-restrictions. Yet, public VPNs often use IPs that flag services as VPN IPs. As a result, public VPNs may not reliably access global services because these services can detect and block commonly used VPN IPs. Internet service providers site blocks. Sometimes, internet service providers restrict access to specific websites, often due to government regulations or their own policies. Pirate sites, for instance, may be among the websites blocked by internet service providers, or governments like those of Iran and China could impose extensive internet restrictions to limit speech. VPNs effectively bypass these restrictions by rerouting your internet connection through a server that doesn't impose these blocks. This process enables you to access the internet without being hindered by internet service providers' imposed restrictions. However, in many cases, a simple change to your DNS settings can suffice. Using an alternative DNS service often grants access to blocked sites without necessitating the full capabilities of a VPN. Privacy concerns. Growing privacy awareness has propelled VPNs into the spotlight. In today's world, many people are concerned about being tracked and having their information collected, especially by large companies, their internet service providers, and the government. Another concern is that when they are connected through the Wi-Fi, anyone in the local network can sniff their traffic. One of the misconceptions of the average internet user is that they can be tracked through their IP, which is partially true but mostly nonsense. While they do conceal your IP and shield your internet activities from internet service providers and local network sniffing, claims about tracker blocking, military-grade encryption, and no-logs policies are often overstated or unverifiable. Trackers primarily use cookies and browser fingerprints. The IP serves as an additional factor in tracking and not a significant one. And the claim for military-grade encryption is underwhelming. It's essentially standard SSL encryption, the same used by you to watch this video. VPNs are great for hiding your traffic from your local network or from your internet service provider, but when it comes to trackers, most of the time they do not do anything special. But there's also the business side for VPNs. The real reason VPNs are heavily marketed is their profitability and low entry barriers. The ease of setup. Setting up a consumer VPN service is relatively straightforward, with complex tasks like protocol development handled by entities like WireGuard or OpenVPN. Scalable cloud server setup is also quite uncomplicated. It does require legwork, development, and time investment, but it's not that hard for a small to medium company with decent developers and network administrations. High profitability. The VPN industry is highly profitable. Low initial setup and ongoing operational costs lead to significant profit margins. For instance, a $60 cloud server can easily host around 100 users, which means that such a server can gain $440 per month after server costs. Operational costs are considerably lower than in other tech industries, perhaps the lowest. Once the infrastructure is in place, ongoing costs are minimal. These servers don't require heavy investments compared to the revenue potential. The operational costs focused on servers which, as said, are extremely cheap, and customer support that mostly outsourced to cheap countries like India. Scalability is a crucial factor as well. After initial setup, expanding to serve a larger user base is mostly a linear process, meaning that expanding to 5 servers that each are supposed to host 100 users would cost $300 and would gain $50,000. Adding more servers as the user base grows doesn't disproportionately increase expenses. This scalability is central to their profitability, with the ability to scale down just as easily. Linear scalability across millions of users of a business is pretty rare, especially combined with low operational costs. Furthermore, operating a VPN service doesn't require a large, expensive workforce. A small team of developers and network administrators can effectively manage the service for millions of users, thereby keeping labor costs lower compared to other tech sectors. Additionally, as mentioned earlier, customer support costs are minimized by outsourcing them to countries such as India. Consider NordVPN. According to NordVPN, they have 14 million subscribers and 6,000 servers worldwide. A brief calculation will result that each server hosts at most 2,300 connections. The monthly cost of NordVPN is $5 per month for their VPN service. That means that each server generates an income of $11,500 each month. A Google Cloud virtual machine that can host a VPN for 2,300 connections costs $1,220 each month, with 128 gigabytes of RAM and 32 virtual cores, which could be considered an overkill. That means that the bottom line of each server of NordVPN could easily reach $10,000 each month. They have 4,000 servers, meaning that they generate after server costs about $40 million each month after server costs. NordVPN does not provide any information about the number of employees they employ and their expenses, but with a yearly revenue after server cost of $480 million each year, if their numbers are not fabricated, they have a significant income compared to their expenses. It's also important to note that maintaining a VPN for average consumers is far less demanding and costly than for corporations. For example, Google's high available VPN can cost over $1,000 per month per user, while their consumer VPN service, Google One, costs $2 each month. This clarifies why YouTube is flooded with VPN ads and why so many providers exist. The VPN industry presents a lucrative business opportunity with relatively low entry barriers. If you're seeking a VPN recommendation, I endorse MULLVAD. Efficient, reliable, private, open, and trustworthy. They did not sponsor this video, and they do not have any bogus marketing claims about their service.